This is Life is a romp that's set in Paris. It's about two student art projects. One of them goes very well, and the other one is something of a disaster. And because it's a novel, the two projects collide in a blaze of drama and romance. In this chapter, Aurélie, the main character, is standing in a small square, and she's about to start her art project, which involves throwing a stone into a crowd, then asking whoever it hits to let her follow them around for a week as she documents their life. She smoked a cigarette as far as it would go, then ground it out on the wall and put the stub in the matchbox. The time had come. A new batch of passers-by was spilling from the metro, and they were augmented by the passengers of a bus that had just pulled up. She switched on her video camera and rested it on her shoulder. It's quite heavy, an old-style one that used VHS tape, and she hoped its antiquity would help towards the mixed media aspect of her assessment. She took the stone from her pocket. She had chosen it carefully. It was a smooth pebble about the size of a small grape, and so dark grey that it might as well have been black. She had decided that a dark one would be ideal for the task because it wouldn't be lost against the backdrop of light stone apartment buildings. She had taken it from the collection of interesting stones she had built up as a young girl, most of them found on beaches on family trips to the seaside. She couldn't remember which beach this one had come from, but it must have been the combination of its smoothness and darkness that had marked it out from its neighbours and inspired her to pick it up and take it home. She had spent the preceding Sunday afternoon practising in the Bois de Boulogne. When she was growing up, her father had often told her he wasn't prepared to raise a daughter who couldn't throw, and over the years she had developed a good right arm. The problem was going to be capturing the stone on film. She had begun with horse chestnuts, throwing them as high as she could and trying to locate them in the viewfinder at the same time, following their trajectory as they rose and fell. Once she'd practiced enough with horse chestnuts, she'd moved on to stones. She'd been so lost in her task that by the time she gave up, her arm aching so much she could no longer throw, the park was growing dark and unusually beautiful silhouettes had begun to appear along the roadside. It was a clear morning. Yesterday's rain and clouds had gone, leaving only a few puddles. The sky was blue and the light was good. She held the stone as she pressed the record button, closed her eyes, counted slowly to 15, pulled back her right arm and threw. She knew before it had left her hand that the throw was a good one, high and true. She opened her eyes and immediately caught the small black dot in the viewfinder, just as she had practiced. It rose to its apex and seemed for a split second to hover completely still before beginning its descent. It was at this moment that her doubts set in. She went from a state of absolute confidence in her plan to a feeling of wretched stupidity. This is art, she had thought, exhilarated as the stone had left her hand. But she no longer felt that way, and she had no idea what it was apart from a ridiculous and ill-thought-out thing to do. She had intended to stay silent, but she couldn't. Even so, she had no idea that she had spoken. It was only much later, when she played the tape back, that she heard the words she had uttered as she saw where the black dot was heading. Oh, God. She realised with horror that the stone, smooth and black and the size of a small grape, was about to land hard on a baby's face.
Hi Dan.
Hi Jasper.
Congratulations on being joint winner of the Fiction Uncovered.
Oh, thanks very much.
2012. How does it feel?
Well, it's great. Yeah, it's good to be a part of it, and it's nice that it's 8 of us coming joint first, so you don't have that horrible sort of Damocles atmosphere hanging over it. It's great.
This is Life as a large and eclectic cast list. Did you find it hard to squeeze them all into just 7 days?
No, not really, because they all appeared quite naturally, because I didn't have a plan for the book at all. I just sat down and wrote it, and when I thought a new character needed to come in, I just wrote them in as I went along, and I've never written a book like that before, just starting on page 1 and working through to the end. And I just thought if I needed this kind of character, I'd bring him in, and I didn't even, one of the main characters is an artist called Le Machine, and I didn't have a clue he was going to come into the story. I just he just popped up and just seemed like a fun character to run with, and he just grew and grew as the book went on.
Yeah. So you don't have a wall with lots of post-it notes of all the different characters that you're planning to put into the...
Not with this
narrative.
one. No, normally I write in a very piecemeal way. I'll write a scene here, a chapter there, and I'll join them all up over the course of several agonising months or years.
Yeah.
But with this one, I just sat down and wrote it in 12 and a half weeks.
The piece that you read was about Orley's starting a series of throwing the stone up into the air in the prison park. Have you been forced into random acts to get the creative juices flowing?
It kind of grew out of I went with my wife to Paris for the weekend, and it kind of grew out of a lot of the experiences we had there. I noticed that in Paris they don't seem to play conkers, because we went there in conker season.
Right.
And there are loads of horse chestnut trees all over Paris, and no one's picking up the conkers.
Missed opportunity.
It is a total missed opportunity. I'm actually thinking I might go there this year, come back with suitcases full of conkers and sell them on the streets, because they're just...
Yeah.
Someone needs to teach the French to play conkers. So yeah, there are conkers in the passage I read.
Where did the inspiration for the in-breath of the cormorant come from? Is that...
Yeah, there's a part of the book where two boys have a breath-holding competition with a cormorant. So that when the cormorant goes underwater, they have to hold their breath until it comes back up. And I was just in Cork once, just walking along the river, and just watching these cormorants, and just started playing it myself and thought, this is a good game.
Yeah.
So that ended up in the book.
Ah, right. Okay. So it's a Dan Rhodes original. This is... I was wondering if there was a reference point somewhere else, but it's cool.
I don't know.
The inspiration.
Yeah, but I can't. I don't think I can have been the first person to have had a breath holding competition with a cormorant.
That's true.
So I can't claim it as my own.
Yeah.
But I'd wanted to incorporate that idea, and so when I went to Paris and saw a cormorant in Paris, it all came together.
Yeah, fantastic. One of your stylistic trademarks is your dark humour. Does This Is Life follow on from that tradition, or have you mellowed slightly with age?
I think I have mellowed with age. Yeah, I think I'm not quite as furious as I was 10 years ago, and the books are a bit lighter because of it. And so the challenge really for me has been to become old and soft while still writing books that are worth reading.
Yeah.
So it is a bit of a soppier book than I would have written a few years ago.
Yeah.
A bit more sentimental, a bit lighter. But hopefully it's still good.
Do you enjoy the process of writing?
I did with this one, because it just poured out really. I just sit there and write a few thousand words a day, which was something that hadn't happened before. So I wasn't agonising over this one. I was just having a great time writing it, and that hadn't really happened before.
And you enjoyed that part of it. I guess I don't write myself, but the idea of it just kind of flowing through you must be quite exciting.
It was great. Yeah. I had to write this book in a hurry because I was really running out of money, and I needed to get paid. So I was up against that kind of deadline. I didn't have a contract for it or anything like that. And I was expecting to write a little sort of 150-page pot boiler, but it just grew and grew, and it's actually it's the same length as my first 3 books put together, and it took me about 7 or 8 years to write those 3 books. So yeah, it was a bit of a dream writing this one.
Some authors restrict themselves to, it's like boxers, no sex before a fight. Some writers don't read other fiction while they're in the process of writing. Do you do that? Do you go for a no fiction rule?
When I'm in the thick of writing, yeah, I do. I just write and write. I'm just too busy writing to actually do any reading when I'm really in the thick of it. So I get a big backlog of books. Before I wrote this, I was reading loads of crime fiction, and what I really like about crime fiction is that it just has a plot, and it has to have a good solid story for you to follow. Yeah. I was reading the Martin Beck novels, which are brilliant.
Oh, right, okay.
And I'm making my way through the hard case crime library, which are these little revivals of dime novels in really great jackets, and they're all about 200 pages long. And so I think that fed into it. I just wanted to write a good, solid plot that just cantered along.
Yeah.
Although it became unexpectedly lengthy, which I was very pleased about. At the end, it's exactly the same length as One Day by David Nichols, so that must be the most commercial size for a book.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Are you currently working on anything new?
I'm just dusting off. No, sorry, not just dusting. I'm just dotting the I's and crossing the T's on a new collection of short stories called Marry Me that's going to be out next year, and that's a loose follow-up to my first book, Anthropology, which was all a load of very short boy meets girl stories, and these are very short boy marries girl stories, often with disastrous results. Had to write that one in a hurry as well.
They're very demanding at Canongate, are they?
No, it's just I keep running out of money.
Do you think this? Would you like to see this as a film or adapted?
Yeah, I would. Yeah, mainly, to be honest, because I'd get some money for it, and that would help pay the bills. But yeah, I'd like it to be a French film, really. Ideally, I'd like it to be filmed in Paris in French.
Paris is the most romantic city in the world. True or false?
Well, it's got to be in the top 10, hasn't it? It's one of them. Yeah, it is a great city. I took my wife there, and it was romantic. Yeah.
Was she your wife at that point?
She was my wife at that point. Yeah. But I'd rate San Francisco up there as well, because that's where I met her.
Well, thank you very much, Dan. That's all the questions that I have for you.
Been a pleasure.
Yeah, great, and congratulations again.
Oh, thanks very much.